Okay, in 2.3, we're going to be moving on. We'll be able to get this done in one video. It's increasing and decreasing functions. So we're going to state the interval in which increasing and decreasing occurs. And then it says right here, it's always open intervals, and I'll talk more about that in the video. Some things that you guys should know by now as far as your calculator usage are how to find max, min, zero, value at a certain point, trace, zoom fit, intersection, and how to deal with the piecewise, absolute value, and then how to clear your memory out of the calculator, how to change your window, and then what y equals is. If you don't, ask your teacher, ask me, Mr. Hall, or Ms. Zara. We want to make sure you guys know how to use your TI-84s or 89s. Okay, so for the first one, this is the completed one. I want to show you the actual not the one that's not completed. For the first one, I'm given this graph, and it says it's the graph of a function. Determine the intervals on which the function is increasing and decreasing. So as we look at graphs left to right. All right, so as I look at this graph here, I first want to look at it from left to right. I can see it's decreasing, gets to this value of -4, then it increases, then it decreases, increases, decreases a little bit, and then increases. So we want to put the intervals for where the graph is increasing and decreasing. Let's take care of all of them all at once. So let's first talk about decreasing. All right, for the first part of the graph. As you can see, it's decreasing from -infinity. Put it on the decreasing line, and then all the way down here to -4. It's a parenthesis, and then at the place where it changes direction, it's a parenthesis. It's no longer decreasing, it's not increasing. And actually what we kind of say in physics is it stops, all right? It stops. So if you think about throwing a ball up, and just before the point where it comes back down, it stops and then begins its descent. So at the points where it changes direction, it's neither increasing nor decreasing, it actually stops, all right? And from -4, and remember I'm talking about the x values, from -4 to -3, it's increasing. So from -4 to -3, the graph is increasing. And then from -3, it looks like to about 1, it is decreasing. So -3 to +1, it's decreasing. And then from 1 until, looks like that's 2, it's increasing. So 1, 2, again parentheses. And a little decrease here from 2 to 3, 2, 3. And then from 3 to infinity, it is increasing. So 3 to +infinity with a parenthesis. All right, so increasing and decreasing intervals always have parentheses. Okay, now let's look at this graph. So it says a function f is given using a graph. A function f is given. Use a graphing calculator to draw the graph of f. State approximately the intervals on which f is increasing and on which f is decreasing. So you'll take this equation, plug it into your calculator, plug it into the y equals, and then you're going to find a couple of things about where the graph hits the x-axis, where it hits the y-axis, things like that. Here's some information down here for you. Use the calculator, the 89 or the 84, depending on which one you have. You want to use the word calculate, and then second, trace. It helps you kind of trace your graph and calculate at a certain place on the graph. To find the zero values, you can use that function in your calculator that helps you find the x-intercepts. And then value, it's another thing on your calculator that gives you the y value for any given x. You plug in the x value, and then you can plug in, or then you can push enter and find the value for any y value that you want. I went ahead and made the graph for you. I want to show it to you. The graph will look something like this, and the graph will cross the y-axis at 0, 4, and then it hits the x-axis right here. I kind of missed it with the line, and I hit it here, the x-axis, with the equation, with the graph as well. All right, so it says my x-intercepts are -8, 0, And 8, 0, not necessarily needed on this one. But now the question is, when is the graph increasing? When is the graph decreasing? Remember, when you look at graphs, you look at graphs from left to right. So let's look at the graph from the left, and we'll trace it to the right. So from negative infinity, so this is forever to the left, negative infinity to 0, this is 0 on the x-axis. We always talk about the x values for increasing and decreasing intervals. From negative infinity to 0, the graph is increasing. It hits this value of 0 right here on the y-axis. It's a parenthesis because it hits that maximum point and technically stops. Then it comes back down and starts to decrease. So from 0 to positive infinity, the graph is decreasing. So I'd say this is one where, and technically you should be practicing with your calculator and some of the functions, whether it's the 89 going to F5, math, 0, or value. Practice with the calculator, and really this is the value that's important, 0. The x value is 0, 4 at the y-intercept, or where it's decreasing, or it begins to increase and then it goes to decreasing. Okay, one more. This is more like the one in the past that we've been tested on. I went ahead and graphed this one in the y equals. Then there were some important points that I wanted. All right, I wanted the x-intercepts. I found those the same way I did before. I also wanted to find the max and min. So what I did is I hit calculate, then I hit max min, left bound, we practiced this before, right bound, push enter. Do I want you to guess it? Yes. And then that will give you this point and that point. They're both in green there. All right. Again, it also tells you, okay, I found the y value or the y-intercept. I use value for that. The x-intercept, yep, that's the same thing I put on this page. To find the x-intercept, you'd use the 0 values. All right. I give you the x-intercepts, y-intercepts. You will need those values at some point. TI-89, similar, just a little bit different procedure. Okay, so now for where is the graph increasing? I already have them down for you. Increasing, looking left to right, negative infinity to this maximum point. I found that maximum point right there. I think I wrote it down here. It was negative 1.5, positive 0.63. And so at negative 1.5, that's where it starts to change direction. So it increases from negative infinity to negative 1.5. Then from that value, it decreases. And I found this minimum point right here. I wrote it down below. Minimum is negative, or is positive 0.22, comma negative 2.11. The x value is what's important. All right, so I use 0.22. So it's decreasing from negative 1.5, the x value negative 1.5, and then decreases down to 0.22. And then one more increase, 0.22 to infinity, it's increasing. Now, if I ask you to sketch the graph, all of these points would be important for you to find. And so on your test, we'll say, hey, sketch the graph. Well, you're going to sketch the graph with important points. X-intercepts, max and mins, the y-intercept, etc. All right. That might be the shortest video that you guys have, less than 10 minutes. It's the only video for 2.3. You are welcome to start the homework if you want. Otherwise, practice with your calculator or ask your teacher if you have any further questions.